This is a tutorial about bobbin lacing a cowl with wool in a net. That means it's a mixed technique out of bobbin lacing, which I will do with wool, and then sewing the wool in a fine net. This is contemporary bobbin lace. We need to do this a technical material, so we start in this tutorial with all the materials we need, and then we go on with starting the cowl. This is a two-part tutorial because otherwise it's going to be too long. So here now the first part of it. Welcome to my channel. My name is Uli Baisi. I'm a contemporary lace maker and I'm happy to see you here. Today we are making a scarf, a cowl, better saying. A cowl is a really short scarf which is going to lie around your neck, and I think it's the good start to learn this technique. Before we start lacing, we have to talk about the materials, and we are starting with the wool. You know, wool can look very different, can be in very different qualities, can be in very different structures. So I like them all. Just one way of wool I don't like to use in scarves, that's wool changing its color. You know, I like to work with the color, manipulate it, and so with this kind of wool I don't have the control, and so I don't like to use it. But this is up to you. I like to use fine, and I like to use finer and thicker wool. If you're looking in the middle, you see there is some thicker thread next to smaller ones, and on the side as well. This is is giving really nice effect, and so I like to use and mix it. Like this one here, that's the same, and so I like to use all kind of wool. This is also, if you're a knitter, very good to use up your rests. I'm sorry for the noise in the background. One of my cats is making this. It's very good if you have rests. I'm buying normally in a wool shop 1 to 2 how do you call them, bunches of wool, but in a big amount of varieties of wool. I'm in heaven in a wool shop. So we have the wool. We go on with the, have it here, with the bobbins. We need bobbins, of course. I've tried once to buy wool bobbins. I made it. It was not easy to find them, but I found some, but they were too big for me, and I couldn't handle them. So I swapped to something else. I've started as a lace maker in Germany with a cushion, and on this cushion we have hanging bobbins like this one here. It has a sleeve which is going to protect the thread, and I decided just to take off the thread and use it like this. This is what we are going to do soonish together. You see here, and you see here are the bobbins. I have some hair clips again, in bigger size now this time, and so I'm using them for making the lace. You have seen just the plastic material which was underneath. That's our technical material. That's the material that is something like this. It's normally, when you buy it, it's clear, but because it has been lying around for a long time here open, it has just gone to this. It doesn't make any difference, and the quality is as good as it was before. This is water soluble. If you put it in a glass of water, it will dissolve. This comes from I think it comes from the care industry, and if the carers in a home collecting all the dirty laundry, they are stacking them into plastic bags. They are also in different colors for the kind of clinic it needs. These are going into the laundry, and at the laundrette they are just stacking the bags into the washing machine, and the bags will dissolve. That's good for the people working there, because they're not getting in touch with any bacteria or infections. So it comes, so far I know, from there. Other crafts are also using this kind of material. I know that pearl embroiders are working with it, but I can't really say what they're doing. It's not my pot of tea. This material is, as I said, water soluble. If you have it in rain, or you're spilling some drinks, it will dissolve. So you can just sew then a bit on your work. That's not so difficult. But if you leave this in the sun, it will get harder and harder and harder. It's like paper, and it can break. If something is happening like this, you have to cover it with a towel which is a bit wet, only a tiny bit wet, then it will regain. So if you're living in a very dry area like I'm, and you need to store it for a few days, wrap it into some towel and see that it's not getting too dry. The foil is this one. And it's long. I buy it in 1 meter, which is very nice to handle, because I'm just slicing then. For example, if I'm making a scarf for 50 centimeters, I'm just cutting 50 centimeters off and have a 1 meter bit, so I don't need to cut this into pieces. I'm working like this. So this is a very good mate. I'm very happy with it. I had some others which were the effect made everything stick together. That was not how I could work. We need to work on a lace table. A lace table, we need to work on a flat table, because if the wool is hanging, it's bringing too much tension to it. And if the wool is sewn onto this plastic, the plastic will just go like this, because the wool is stronger than the plastic. So we need, with working, be very careful with the tension we are using, and that is something you really need to practice. So I don't think it's not possible. I think it's not possible to use a cushion for this. You need to work it on a flat table. Yeah, at last we need a sewing machine, otherwise we can't sew anything. Please subscribe to the channel, give me thumbs up. There or there, I don't know where, is a link for a tutorial about how to make tallies. And now we are going on to make a scarf. The foil, the plastic cutting, I've just drawn a line and cutting along it. So you see it's the long roll of 1 meter. And now this is done. The bobbins, and I'm sorting now the bobbins on my lace table. The plastic is pinned to the lace table. You see I've drawn a pattern on it. You can just draw onto the plastic because it will dissolve. It doesn't make any problems. You see a line left and right, and inside there is this pattern. I will make the rose ground. So probably everyone knows it. If not, you can look it up. It's a very easy, straightforward and pretty pattern ground. So I've started the pattern not on the top of the plastic, because the cowl is going to be around a circle, and we need the space later to connect the plastic. I'm hanging up the bobbins on some pins with a loop. The loop I can undo later on when I'm finishing. This is helpful, you will see it later. You see me doing the pattern, and I'm using very big pins. With normal pins you can't do it because they don't hold the tension of the wool. You don't have to put too much tension on the wool, because otherwise the wool will always go back in their natural form, and the plastic can't hold it. So the wool is stronger, and so we need to be careful how much we are pulling the plastic. Done laced a bit, and that's the maximum we can lace before we need to fix it, because otherwise the tension of the wool will be too strong and very difficult to sew. Also, the amount of pins will be difficult then under the sewing machine. I've put the bobbins into a crochet rope where I'm stucking them in to secure them, and now I'm taking the pins out of the lace table and fixing it onto the plastic. These are preparations for the sewing. I have to be careful that the pins are not going out of the wool, because otherwise the pattern will just we will just lose the pattern. And because of the tension, you have always put the head in against the tension. As you can see, I'm taking the head out of the laced rose crown circle square. This has to be done very carefully. It's quite a time-consuming thing to do, but if we are not doing it very carefully, we will have problems on the sewing machine. So this has to take the it has to take the time it takes. There is no shortcut. Plastic is quite solid. A lot of pins are in there that doesn't make it nice. Now I'm fixing the bobbins. There's the band and everything is loose, and we are now going to the sewing machine. Here's my sewing machine, my most beloved Pfaff from the 80s. And now we are going to sew. We are starting at the end where the bobbins are, that they can't pull any tension more onto the wood, or onto the wool. And you see, it's very slowly sewing because we have to go over all the pins. I'm sorry, my hands are in the way. There is no other way of filming it. You see, we are going over there. And the aim is to hold to sew the points where bobbins are joined, where the wool is joined, and to get the tension. Sometimes you have to help and lift the foot to go over the wool. So we are going forward here. I'm doing it in that's exactly the time I needed to do this, because I want you to see this. This is very important, this fixing of the wool, because with this the pattern goes or not. So and with all the pins, of course, it takes some time. I have to be careful not to make any folds in it, and to get really all the wool. If you're doing a different pattern, then you just have to see that the places where the bobbins has joined, where the pins are, that you are getting all the threads which are in this to sew. And you see, you can sew without any problems on this plastic. So it's like having some fabric under. You can see what we have done. It's all what I've done. It's all sewn. There are only a few pins on the top where I've hung up the bobbins. I'm taking these out as well because they are just disturbing. And that's the end for today's tutorial. Please subscribe and come back for the second part. If you have questions, please come forward, and the ebook will come out after the second part.